Good evening, everybody, and welcome again to the Borderline Podcast with me, your host, Andrew Willox. Guys, I hope you had an absolutely brilliant Christmas. Everybody's enjoying the festivities, haven't drank too much, yada, yada, yada. I guess you all have anyway. Anyway, yeah, I hope you had a really good one, and now we're looking forward to New Year's Eve, I'm guessing, and starting the new year fresh. So anybody that's kind of been following across on my Instagram at Andrew's Anxiety Adventure, um, for the last couple of days, I've been issuing like posts of the month and kind of review, and obviously we kind of went through the drag and the sorrow and the yada and yada. And yeah, I just thought it'd be quite good to go back and do a solo podcast by myself, and kind of back to the roots of why we started this, and kind of review my year, and the really good positive changes that I'm going to be ending on too. It's really important to mention that from the start, but I have to be really honest again, and when I talk like this, I think honesty goes such a far way when we're discussing our mental health. So, and I'm not here to offend anybody. I'll never name names, of course, and I'm not out to attack anybody. It's just my honest opinions on certain times of the year and how I've felt and how I've been and whatnot. So yeah, so I guess here we go then. Yeah, so January. So if anybody kind of remembers discussions maybe in another podcast that I did, January, I wasn't having a relatively good time. I guess I need to actually start the story. I need to actually go back to 2022 actually, because I wasn't really ending the year very well at work. I was having a lot of stress there. It wasn't really work, or like work's problem. It was just stuff that would usually handle relatively easily, and things wouldn't bother me as much. That I was having a really hard time with, and so I'd went to the doctor and had kind of spoken to them, and I don't know why I just didn't really want to go up on my citalopram dosage at the time, and I was at 20 milligrams, which I'd been on that since I'd started taking citalopram years ago. And so he recommended that I went on to sertraline, which I'm sure you've heard me talk in the past. I'm not the biggest fan of sertraline. It did not make me feel good at all. Really quite horrible auditory hallucination type stuff. Whether that was the withdrawal of the crossover of citalopram at the time, I don't know. It seemed like I was just doing everything far too fast. For coming off and switching and whatnot. It was done in a really, really short space of time, whereas this time in the Matrap's it's been like a really long spaced out one, which has really been beneficial to me. So yeah, so I hadn't really wasn't really going into the new year that great anyway. Obviously I was off on my Christmas holidays, but I wasn't really feeling very joyful or whatnot. And yeah, so I think it'd maybe be kind of early January. I went back to work as usual, and things were going relatively fine. Mental health still wasn't that great. Kind of not really sleeping. The usual. I have an awful time on Sunday nights. I still do. I still do as well. Sunday nights before work. I'm just a mess. I still am. And not nowhere near as bad, but like usually, like the start of the year, that would be like I'd go to bed at 10 o'clock. I'd be awake with anxiety at like 1:30, and then that would be me pretty much. So, yeah, that tossing and turning, maybe getting another hour or two, but not really the kind of good sleep. So yeah, so that sort of stuff. More nights than Sundays, I guess, is the easiest way to explain that. So, which was really odd for me. I'd never really gone through a sustained period of mental health over like nothing. Like there was no kind of like really hard triggers to point at that time. It just seemed to be how I always fucking felt. And yeah, obviously you just kind of get sick and tired of that. And like I said in the January post, I think that was the first time that like suicidal thoughts was the kind of dominant figure of like of solving it in a way. It's like I say, it's just me being honest. Like that seemed to be like the like kind of already done the med change. I did what fucking do that again. And yeah, I felt shorter than what I did beforehand. And so, resolution to that, unfortunately. But we kept at it, and I think probably as I went on towards the end of January, that's when I had the kind of like first breakdown as such that I'd went up to the new inn, and everything was pretty fine. I'd had a couple of pints beforehand, usual crack. Got up there, had a couple of pints, and then I'd had my starter. It was fine. Had a bit of my main. Wasn't really eating that much of the main course, and I felt kind of fine. And then about half an hour later, it's just the sweats and spews in the toilets, and then I was just constantly spewing for the rest of the night. And then that was just a horrible, horrible, horrible night of just wrecking and anxiety. Is the only way that I can describe that. It's just like shaking me, and I just couldn't get rid of it. Nothing would get rid of it, and obviously you can't go to sleep when you feel like that, which obviously makes it 10 times worse. And yeah, I wasn't going through a really good spell, and that that initial night of anxiety, only lasted until kind of the Sunday afternoon. I started feeling a little bit better. Like I said, I went back to work on the Monday, and I went out for a vape at like 10 o'clock, and then it was just like boom. I don't know what happened to my body. It was just like this little grenade went off in my stomach that was just like, oh my god, like terror in your stomach. That feeling when somebody gives you a fright out of nowhere, that like horrible adrenaline feeling. It was like that constantly in my stomach. And so yeah, I pretty much legged it home at that point. And I started immediately just trying to make myself sick all the time. It just felt like something had to come up. It was the only way to get rid of it was to try and make myself sick. And then I obviously got into the repetition of doing that, which is not a good idea. Forewarn you, it does not get rid of that feeling. It makes matters a hell of a lot worse, especially when you're like me. I'm on a metrazole anyway. Yeah, like I should have been on it for many moons before now. It's just pure arrogance and stubbornness that and went and got it sorted. I've suffered with heartburn for years, so like retching on that really isn't fun on my stomach whatsoever. And which obviously doesn't help when you have anxiety. Your stomach's your second brain. It's got the second most nerve endings. Whoops, second most nerve endings in the body. So if your head's feeling it, your stomach's going to feel it, and your stomach's so much more sensitive. Um, so yeah, it was obviously that was trying to like get rid of that feeling. It was just the sweats. It was just like constant. Could not sleep, and the like I will be honest with this. It takes a lot for me for at that time, for certainly at that time, for not to smoke cannabis, and I did not go anywhere near cannabis. It just even this like oh god, the heightened anxiety I was getting off the smell of it or being near it. I just knew it wasn't going to be good for me, and which that honestly it says a lot, and I mean that just I'm not saying I'm a constant stoner. I'm just saying that I was going for a shit time, so I was smoking joints. Um, so yeah, I lost my chain of thought, and yeah, so again, wasn't eating, just constantly making myself sick, and that went on for about 4 or 5 days. And then, like I said in the post, it was so stupid though. That weekend I was back drinking and back into the thing that again, I'm glad that's over. Kind of put it down to food poisoning, food bug, something like that. But I knew in my heart and my head, it wasn't anything food related. It wasn't a stomach bug. I knew it was like a massive anxiety attack. That it kind of, I don't know, it was like almost put my body in a shock, for want of a better word. And that kind of went on into February. And so sorry as well. So something really important to mention about January as well, that like I put on there, that I would have been running LGD and then going into a PCT as well. So my hormones were obviously not in the best place. So that would definitely have been having an impact on already a pretty fragile mind. I think that's the best way to say that, is that if you're already depressed and then your testosterone starts going in the wrong direction, you're going to feel that 10 times worse. So putting two and two together with that one, it seems to make a little bit of sense. Excuse me while I take a little drink of water. Much better. Forgot how hard it was to talk constantly. And yeah, solo casts are different. It's weird not having a guest on. I don't know if I like it. No, I definitely don't like it. I much prefer the guest. This is terrifying. Um, February. Yeah, so February, obviously transition into February would have been kind of that week when I was feeling like shit. So I'd started feeling a little bit better again. Mental health started getting a little bit better. I was kind of getting back into the gym and that kind of my normal self. I still didn't feel right though. Like what had happened in that week had shook me up pretty badly. Like I knew, like I said, I knew in my head that that was an anxiety attack, and I was like, by fuck, I don't want to go through that again. Like that was just the worst feeling, and that triggered more anxiety. So in my head at that time was a constant worry of oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, I don't want to feel like that again. And it was just, I just, like I said, I wasn't handling things well at all. I was getting stressed out. I was getting like really passive aggressive, and even like the stuff I was sharing on social media. I look back and you're like, Andrew, man, you idiot! Like, come on, use a little bit of common sense, pal. It's just like just head all over the place. And so that's pretty much like, February and March is much the same as that. Although noticeably, like I said on Instagram, at this time I was noticing a transition that I was really getting sick of alcohol. Like, honestly, like in the past, if Liverpool's on at 12:30, like I've said, that's like perfect excuse. Let's go to the gym early. Let's get a good bit of breakfast into me, line the stomach, and then let's get on the cans at 11 o'clock. And that's Saturday. And yeah, so even at that, like, I would rarely drink at 12:30 quick off, which is odd for me. And even in like the Six Nations matches, like usually like that's a pretty like, get up, gonna get on the beers and whatnot. And especially if there's like that 5 o'clock, that quarter to five kickoff that the Scotland England games usually at, like that perfect time for a good sesh. And even at that, like I wasn't really drinking. Maybe like, 2 or 3 cans, maybe five. That doubled. More than doubled if you went with two. Um, not as nowhere near as much as what it usually would be. And yeah, like I'd get myself to the stage that I'd go pour one, and I knew as soon as, even when I was walking to the fridge to get one, I was like, "You don't want this. You absolutely do not want this." And then you'd pour it, you'd sit back down, you'd have a maybe have a sip of it, if not, just kind of like point at it, like, "Don't want that," and then like get up and pour it away. And I was just like, and then you'd feel relaxed after, oh, thank God I didn't need to drink anymore. Like, how bad's that? Thinking, God, in my own house, oh, thank God I don't need to drink anymore. Oh, it's just like, it's just such a weird mindset. And yeah, so that was kind of like, that was kind of weirdly enjoyable. It was kind of helping my mental, like in a weird way, it was kind of helping my mental health, because I was kind of like, yeah, that I'm enjoying cutting down on drinking. But I still needed it as that inhibitor, for like, if we're going out and whatnot. It was still like, if I was going out to the pub or anything like that, I knew I was still in the place. I still needed to have a couple of drinks before I'd even think about leaving the house, which isn't normal. It's not normal. Let's face it, that's not a normal feeling to have. So in March, obviously, was the big kind of one, and that was Sass's 30th, which, as I said, was a brilliant distraction at the time, and it was a brilliant, brilliant, brilliant fun night. Which was odd again because I didn't really drink. Neither did Sass as well. She was also kind of going into that stage that she was kind of like looking at the drink and thinking, "Nah, you're right. Maybe we really have kicked the arse out of this for quite some time," and which was obviously kind of helping each other. And so that was quite good. So yeah, so things were like, that's what I mean. Things were kind of like picking up a little bit at a slow pace. It's just that I wasn't going with the pace. It's just like things were getting better. I just wasn't getting better. Like, I couldn't understand why I wasn't getting better. Um, these things, because like, doing stuff makes you feel good. Let's face it. That's why we all do stuff. Um, at the end of the day, and it's, yeah, like I said, that party was a brilliant distraction. It made me feel really good. Even after, you look back at it, you still laugh about it. It's hilarious for some, for someone far too much. Shall not name. You know where you are. And that was just so funny. And yeah, so it was kind of going well, and like I said, I was getting back into the gym. I was natural at that point. I had no intention of going back near any kind of SARM or substance at that point, because I kind of knew that, the kind of hit that my testosterone had. I was like, no, I'm not really ever really wanting to dabble with that, or not for a long serious time anyway. So like my head was pretty clear in that kind of sense. I was kind of in a nice routine. Weights were coming back up at a nice steady pace. And my diet was getting there. I was kind of back into it. I know when I'm, you know, what the stupid thing is, I know when I'm going for a really bad spell mentally, when I prep and I prep the same thing every single day, and then I just seeking myself of it by like day three, and then I end up going down to the garage or something like that on my break. And like egg salads, like I like an egg salad, like I love an egg salad. But see when I'm just like not there. That's just like, yep, I'll eat them every day. I could eat them twice. Yeah, imagine the farts. Absolutely disgusting. Forget the Yellowstone episode when we go across to YouTube. You got a bigger, dirtier secret of sulfur in this house. And yeah, so so, ugh, so how random. And yeah, so the diet was kind of I was hitting my macros, put it that way. I was hitting my macros and my calories, and sometimes healthily, sometimes not so healthily. And so things were progressing, and everything was going quite well. But like I say, just my mind fucking wasn't, and I was getting back really badly into like the Sunday fear mode into Mondays. That was becoming like a big problem again. Which coincidentally, and I'll be honest, was is why I actually went went smoking cannabis in the first place, and it worked for a certain period of time. So which I don't rely on that for it now, obviously, because it just doesn't do that. It doesn't help me. And yeah, so it's just really hard to explain how backwards my mind was going at that point, because things were like I say things were going forward, but I was like, nah, like I can't shift this monkey off my shoulder of like suicidal thoughts a little bit, and they're like creeping around me. You know, you're lying in bed. I was just worrying about stupid little, nothings in the world, which is, unlike me. I'm really usually quite laid back, and this is the saddest part of the story is that, and I'll mention this again, obviously towards the end, is that I just miss me. Like that's who I miss out of all this, and I don't think I'll ever get that Andrew back, the way that I've ever known him, if that makes sense. But I want to try and get the little bits back that I really miss, and they're really important to me. Um, that'll make more sense as the yearly story goes on. So yeah, so things were going, pretty good in April, and then excuse me while I'm taking another little drink of water until oh, that was loud. Until so let's go. That's the April 17th. So April 17th, I phoned in sick to work. That'll be the Monday, and I just felt kind of run down cold. I had a weird bit of back pain going on as well at the time. So generally just kind of felt kind of shitty as well. Um, and basically what happened from there was just a pitfall, a spiral, so to speak. Um, I don't like being off work, and it was really odd for me, even from the start of that year, to have had a lot of time off. It didn't sit well with me, and my boss would reassure that it's fine. It's relevant that you have your time off and it's necessary and whatnot, but that still doesn't take away my anxiety about that. So I've got a really hard time dealing with being off, and that's just a bit of honesty, not brown nosing. um, yeah, so I'd obviously I'd want to get back to work initially on the Wednesday, and I recall, or was the Wednesday's the first day? Anyway, I recall Man City were playing Bayern Munich. I believe the game was 1-1. It was a really entertaining game, if I remember correctly. And yeah, I'd had a pizza and went up to bed to watch the TV in bed because I still wasn't feeling really well. But I was just like, you're going to go back to work. And yeah, it's really unlike me as well to be right. This is a weird thing. I might make myself sick a lot, but it's really unlike me to be sick. I'm not usually sick. If I'm sick, then something's really irritated my gut, or something, something's happened. So, um, yeah, so I'd ate my pizza, and then I was just like, whoa. oh, nah, like leg it to the toilet, being sick on the floor, kind of, it just I could not control it, and yeah, it was disgusting, and yeah, it was kept on being sick, and and then from there, like my stomach was just turning and turning and turning. And I remember messaging my boss and just saying like, look, man, like, I can't remember what I said, but I said I can't catch a fucking break now. Like I've just started spewing, and so he's just right, just take the rest of the week off and see what you're like on Monday, and I know, no, even that, just like see what you're like, and so yeah, on the Thursday, like my mental health just took a nosedive, and I started feeling a bit physically better. Mentally, my God, I was just oh, not in a good head state. Just dark place. One of them days that you just wake up on the ultra wrong side of the bed. You're annoyed at the world. You're annoyed at how everything's been and how it's going and whatnot, and pissed off. So I totally lost my train of thought again, and yeah, so I wasn't really doing too well on that Thursday, and sulking about. I remember it was quite a nice day, and I think that was the day that Sass was going up to Edinburgh. Or was that the Wednesday? I can't remember now. I get my days mixed up. Forgive me for not being entirely accurate what happened exactly 9 months ago. And yeah, so anyway, Sass had went up to her dad's and dad's girlfriend for some food. And yeah, I remember I was just like, oh, right, I'm going on the cans. I remember getting 8 Heineken or like 4 Heineken, 4 Magners probably. Sounds more like it. And yeah, I was just like going outside and I was just like tanning them like for an hour or whatever you do. And then like smoke a joint and just pass out and wake up and just want to do it again. And just like, it was just abuse started of my body from that day. And it wasn't good. And it was the same on the Friday. And it wasn't obviously it's not healthy, no shit, Sherlock. Yeah, it wasn't smart. It wasn't for the way I was. It was irresponsible, very irresponsible. But I felt like fucking shit. Let's be honest. Like we're not all that headstrong. Where I'm not, and yeah. So that was much the same on the Friday, just on the cans, and then yeah, on the Saturday I was looking after my mum's dog Indy. So the plan was that I was going to go stay there on the Saturday night, and yeah, so we'd went across. I went across, and there was obviously like we've got cats, so we love our cats, so we want to make sure they're inside. That when we leave, they've got fed, and they're feeling loved too. And I wonder what they get up to when we're not here. I do have a camera. I should really use it. I'm positive Nico is up to something, but who knows? Anyway, and yeah, so we went across to see the Indies, the mom's to look after Indy. And yeah, I remember what about I'm sure yeah, what is it when Man City? I'm sure Man City were playing Sheffield United that day. God, I am good, if that's right, by the way. April 22nd. I remember that. I want to say they won 3-0 or 3-1. I've got a funny feeling Sheffield United might have took the lead in that game. Right, anyway, sorry, totally off. Yeah, so anyways, so I was watching that, and then I remembered went downstairs. Like I said, I went down, grabbed a Corona, and I was like, "Oh, I don't want this. I don't want this. I don't want this." That kind of feeling. And I was like, "Oh no, I'm gonna go downstairs for a cigarette." Down in the garage, and I think as I went down, I think I had a sip of it, or maybe I'd had a drink just before I went down, and I knew straight away. I was just like, "Oh no, like that wasn't good." And it did feel like, I'm going to be honest, it did feel like anxiety like that at the time, like oh you fucker. And I remember going down, like walking down the stairs, and then as I went into the annex, it was just like run to the sink and just started like spewing out foam, and beer and whatnot, and it was just awful. And like, keep in mind at that point, I wasn't really eating it like the last couple of days as well, so like alcohol was being pretty harsh on my stomach. A lot of bile was coming up, which is like pretty awful. So naturally, when bile comes up, you don't feel too fucking great anyway, do you? But this time I felt immense pain in my stomach, and obviously paired with that or matched with that was just like this course of sweat, and just I've never sweat like it before. Honestly, like I've had COVID in Tulum in when did we go? June, and like 40 odd degrees and 80 odd percent humidity, and I sweat more with anxiety than I do at Tulum and with COVID, and it's just horrible. Like your skin feels like a wetsuit straight away. That's how I can describe it. It just like clings into you straight away, and it really restricts it really feels like it restricts my breathing as well. So from there, obviously, I kind of get like the heart palpitations and the you struggle to kind of get that oxygen into the lungs to kind of get that deep stress going. And I can remember just being really confused because I knew exactly what was happening to me. I knew this wasn't bad guts or anything like this. I knew this was another anxiety attack, and this was what I'd feared. And when I say fear, I mean I was really really scared of how that had made me ill early in the year, and I was just terrified that this was it. Well, it was it. It's like the fucking volcano going off. And immediately, I don't know why, immediately, like I was just like, bath, just go, just get in a fucking bath. I think it's because I was that sweaty. I was just like, oh, nah, I need it off of me, and I need to sit there. That if I'm going to continually sweat, I'm not going to feel it. Um, so yes, I just ran a bath in my mom's, which honestly, she's the best bathtub in the world. So deep. So like, I actually felt really good, really quite nice actually when I got in the bath. I went upstairs and I'd spoken to Sasa like halfway through my bath. This is how good the bath was, and I was just like, I'm feeling quite a bit better. Went back downstairs into the bath, and it felt really good. Out the bath for a cigarette, felt fine. Upstairs, obviously, wasn't going to drink again. That was absolutely fine. And but I was pacing, and Sass notices that when I pace quite a bit, and she knows that I'm agitated and irritated when I start pacing, and like my mum's house is an upside down house, so it's just kind of like walking from the living room through the land into the kitchen, which is upstairs, and yeah, just like back and forth, drinking a bit of water because I was like obviously massively dehydrated, and yeah, and then I don't know, it might have even just been the water that slight irritation in my stomach again, but I can remember when I sat back down in the armchair, and it was just like instant again, just like nope, almost like an electroshock going right through my body, like nah, you're not getting away with it this time. And then it was just again floods of sweats, and like I was like really worked up, really not in a good headspace. And Sass was just like, you need to go home, you need to go where you can get comfortable. Like she'll stay there, which is really big for her because my mum's house is really 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 scary. I do want to feature it in another ghost stories episode when that comes out because there's plenty of weird stuff happens there. And anyway, sorry, I was just getting another drink of water. And yeah, so I'd gone home, and that was the worst night I think of my life. Like out of all this, well, maybe not the worst, but one of the worst that I can remember and recall. Like the constant thoughts and the feelings and how I felt and whatnot. And I remember just like got in, like drove over, got in, and just oh, I just started crying over the toilet because I knew what was happening, and this was worse. This was far, far, far worse. I mean, even at the start, I wasn't making myself sick. This was like aggressively retching anxiety in my stomach that was just it almost felt like it was punching my diaphragm every single time I was retching. Like my abs were fucking screaming in pain. Honestly, see enough retching is so good for your obliques. I'm guessing that's not a good recommendation. That's highly irresponsible to say. And yeah, so it was just so painful, and that was all night. Not a minute, like nothing was thinking. I was getting in and out the baths in my house a little bit, or the showers that night, because in and out the sweats. I was trying to sleep on the couch downstairs. I was trying to sleep on my bed, just like Nico, bless him. Like Nico always comes up and cuddles on me, usually every night. But and usually he'll jump off. But it's super cute that your animals know when you're not right, because when he knows that I'm not right, Nico will just sit on me all night. Um, and that usually, honestly, like that helps me sleep at night so much. See, like a cat's purr, I mean, it's like proper slow and rhythmic. Oh my god, sleeps to that. Honestly, screw you and your whale noises. I'm coming with Nico's bloody best hits this year. That's another. I should be an entrepreneur. And so that night was fucking terrifying. A lot of dark thoughts, and it's serious. Do I say serious consideration of suicide? That's quite blasé, isn't it? It's not really the word to describe it. Um, I did not want to go through what I thought was going to be coming. Like if it was like this, and it was like that, which was fucking terrifying. And like I was just wrecked. My head was gone. I just wanted out. I was tapping out of life. I just did not want to breathe. If that meant my stomach was so sore, and it was the worst night. I think that has to be the worst night of my life, um, or one of them. And when the next day, like I say, I felt relatively. I think it was just when I had SAS back. That's when I was just like, right, okay, this is safe for now, and you can relax a little bit now, and like SAS is here. And yeah, it was nice. We chilled in the house all day. I think I'd like probably napped a little bit on the couch, and I think we went and got a chippy if I remember correctly. Probably not the best thing when you've been spewing up all night, but hey ho, YOLO. Um, and yeah, I think I ate it pretty damn well actually. And I was just like, I think I'm sound. I think I might have gotten away with this again. Still didn't feel good, and still didn't feel right, but it felt better. It felt a lot better, and anything better at that point was a massive positive. And I was really gripping. The one thing that I've learned, and I'm going to echo this message throughout the story, or try to if I remember, is oh fucking hell, I just totally forgot what I was on about. Oh yeah, gripping on anything that makes you feel positive. Fucking hell, I'm bad at this. And no, I was yeah, honestly, any positive, you're like, yep, right, that's it, I'm doing it. Like ginger shots at that time kind of helped. That was it. I would get ginger shots into me. But them things are wickedly wild. It's quite tasty, but God, they're spicy. The ones with cayenne pepper are bloody spicy. They're nice though, and they do kind of help out. That's actually a really good recommendation. So if you do get quite bad anxiety stomach, I do recommend ginger shots. They do kind of soothe you a little bit. Or maybe it's no, I don't believe in the placebo with herbal stuff. And yeah, so I was feeling a little bit better that Sunday. And keep in mind again, it's a Sunday, so we know what's going to happen that night anyway. So yeah, I'd obviously got myself away up to bed, and yeah, the usual happened, but the usual was 100 times worse. It was back to exactly how I'd felt on Saturday night. I woke up. It must have been around about 4 o'clock originally, and I was just shaking. Um, I couldn't believe what was going on. I couldn't believe that this was actually happening. Having obviously felt a little bit better on the Sunday as well, and yeah, straight in the bath. That was just my instinct at that time, was just go straight into the bath. It's where that kind of gave you that tiny bit of calmness on Saturday, and it did again. I'm not saying it took anything away; it just made things slightly more comfortable and manageable. Again, I think it's because I really do sweat so much when I get such a bad anxiety attack like that. It's just the comfiest place for me to be. Um, just I don't have that horrible feeling, because you know how it is when you sweat so much and then it's not actually that warm. You get the cold shivers and you can't decide if you're hot and you're cold, and then it mucks you up for ages. I know I hate that. I know nobody likes that, and so that's one thing that I always try and avoid. So I think bathing, just general good hygiene kind of helps that anyway. But yeah, it wasn't just baths. If I wasn't in the bath, I was probably getting out of the bath to go and stand directly into the shower. Um, Probably just while I then emptied the bath. I was conscious that I was, sat in my bodily, not my bodily fluids. I was getting out to the toilet, but on my sweat and whatnot. So, um, yeah. So so it wasn't a very good time, and it's very unlike me when I do phone in sick at work. Sorry, it's just burping there. That's better. Um, it's very unlike me when I do phone in sick and work not to phone in first thing, especially when, or like usually what I do is I'll just email because you don't want to wake anybody up really early in the morning. And then 9 times out of 10, if it is my mental health, I'm usually up really early in the morning, so I can fire an email off relatively quickly, and I know that it's just going to get picked up when my boss wakes up. So um, I was really, I was kind of like ever so slightly feeling a little bit better after my bath and after Sass got up, and like I just kind of had that little bit more calmness about me. And then she went to work at, I think it was 10 o'clock, and that was it for me. It was just like I just hit the fear again, and I was straight back in the bath. And I remember waiting until like it was like 12, half 12, and I remember messaging work and just being like, look, I can't. Like, I absolutely, there's just no chance. There's no way I'm coming in. I'm going, and I think I'd actually said there, like, I'm going to be signed off. I need to go to the doctors tomorrow. I need serious help with this. And yeah, it was just horrible. It was a horrible feeling because I knew, I don't know. I think like I kind of knew I was going to be in it for because I'd already been in it for a couple of days. I kind of knew what was kind of coming, so like straight away, kind of smartly and responsibly as well. Just mentioning there that obviously I like as soon as that happens, straight off the cannabis, and I think actually in this is where I really give a lot of credit to CBD. Is that I was trying a lot of CBD there, and it does work in a lot higher dosages than what you. This is where I don't mean to hate on CBD so much. It's just that when you see like bits of gum in that contain like 2 milligrams, it's doing absolutely nothing to you. Well, not absolutely nothing, but nothing, nothing that you're ever gonna know. And you're having to talk really high dosages of CBD, but it was helping me. And it's important to remember that. It was kind of bringing down like a little bit of like, although it wasn't calming down my like the physical symptoms as such, but it's kind of calming my head and making me understand things a little bit easier and just kind of give me a general kind of like mental ease. If that makes sense, which obviously, like I've said earlier, and like I'll say again, any positive, grab onto them. They're so important for your recovery. And again, like building up to this, and something that I've actually missed saying is do not ignore the warning signs because you don't want to end up like this. I'm not saying everybody will. This is just might be how my brain and my body handles the situation. But you don't want to end up like this. Is not fun. It's not fun. And yeah, so it was pretty much from there. So was what we say like 24th of April would be the Monday, and I would easily say, and this isn't for bragging rights or anything like that, I'd easily say, you'd be talking at least after the 10th of May that I actually ate proper food, if that makes sense. I just could not. I was trying, if possible, to get liquid calories in. It's as frequently as I could. A lot of kind of sugary drinks as well, just to try and keep whatever hydration levels I had up because I was making myself just so sick all the time. If I wasn't in the bath, I was making myself sick. It was one of the two. Um, so and I wasn't sleeping. I think like at that time I think I'd be lucky if I was getting around about 40 minutes sleep a day. So you kind of obviously understand that you're never going to feel mentally sound on that anyway. And it was just relentless every single day. I don't know why I isolated myself away like that. Um, it's just what I felt like I had to do at the time. It wasn't like the sad part of it is it wasn't fair on Sass. Um, she then didn't know how to handle me, if that makes sense, because I'd kind of pushed everybody away because I just felt so vulnerable to anybody else as well. I didn't want to be a burden, And which I know sounds so stupid, but it's just how I needed to handle it. I can't explain it, but it was like it was really odd. Like if I was in the bath and I could hear Sass coming up the stairs, I'd get anxiety. But oh no, somebody's coming in to speak to me. But the minute she left the house, it was fear. Like oh no, I've got separation. There's nobody here. What am I gonna do? And like I say, it was so unlike me. I've never had a thought process like that before. And the agoraphobia kicked into the stage that um I couldn't even go into my decking out into the back garden. Even like our new bedroom, kind of looks out down onto the street, and even standing looking down at my car and that, it would give me, that little kind of tickle in your chest when you get a little bit of anxiety, that little bit of nerves. It was giving me that. I was like, what the fuck, man? Like, not, I couldn't process anything. Like, everything was just so confusing for me. I was like, what is going? This isn't me. This has never happened to me like this before. Like, what the fuck is going on? You read article after thing on like mental health and anxiety, and I've read it all before. Like I'm versed in this stuff, and but you're just looking for something like that little bit of information that you're like, yes, I understand that can bring me a little bit of help. I just couldn't find anything like that. Like nothing online, nothing in my head, nothing that I've ever experienced was like this before. It was totally ill being. It felt like I had zero control of my body and zero control of my mind. And the minute I tried to start thinking positive, it was like my brain just battered me with a negative thought. It like just horrible memories or something that's never even happened before. When your mind just takes you to a weird place. It was just doing that constantly, all the time. It was attacking me, attacking me, attacking me, and that's when everything. I needed out. I had to have. It's just oh, it was horrible, and that's when things got really, 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 really scary for me. Um, because, and I don't want to talk too much on the topic of suicide for obvious reasons. But things were a lot realer in the sense that, and I've mentioned this in podcasts before, and it's not to downplay suicide with anybody or suicidal thoughts with anybody whatsoever, but a lot of us in our lives are going to go through a stage that you think, oh, I wish I was again, I'm going to kill myself. I feel suicidal. Yes, it's a suicidal thought, but it's not real. It's not true. Um, I was planning. I was seeking when, how I was going to do it so nobody would see, and into the stages and intricacies of that. And I'll be honest, not at one bit did it phase me what I was doing. It seemed normal. It seemed natural, part of the process. That's the only way I can explain it. That I was just like, you know what, this is it. This is what happens to people. They feel bad, they feel worse, and they get a little bit better, and then they just get floored. And this is it. This is my time, which is really scary. And it was a lot to process, and that was every day as well. And it was exhausting. That's the only way I can explain it. It was fucking exhausting. Mentally, and I've learned so much about myself in that time as well. A few things saved my life. Obviously, my wife's ass is she is why I breathe every single day. Like I've said that on Facebook before. She is my rock. She is my life, and my mum as well, of course. Never forget my mum. But the significant others and the true heroes of the story, like I've said before, are the guys mainly at Sparta Gym, and a couple of them are really close friends as well. I regard them really close friends now, because of that. And the messages that I was getting um, were vital at the points of when I was feeling that. Like, so, and this is why I'm just being honest. I don't want to upset people. So if I was receiving messages of like, yeah, you can do this, and I was replying back, yeah, I've got this, like, no way was I thinking in my head, yeah, I've got this. Like I was just being nice, and I'm getting really emotional when I'm saying this, but it's it's tough as well that it, it was just so heartwarming to get the support at that point. That was, I've got to be honest, it felt really quite random as well. And it really showed class. And the day that really pointed out for me, I think it was when I was actually maybe just getting a little bit better, and Sass was working at the garage, and me and Alan spoke about it in our podcast as well. Sass just came home, and then she was like, "Oh, Alan was asking for you," and he just said, "You can." It wants to see you back and that, and it just hit me, yeah. And I was just like, these guys and girls. I'm not forgetting Yasmin, my amazing number two in the We Are the Universe project. Um, you know, Shane, Keith, Jordan, Alan. I owe them so much. So I do. And not just them, not just them. Like I said, there's other guys, there's other heroes in the story, really pandies and lefties and whatnot too. They're always there, and the messages were just they're so vital at the right time. Is what I'm trying to say. That they were the difference to keep my mind kind of distracted away from it at that time, and that's why I'm just so important that say like the support that you get, use that support and feel it. Like allow yourself just to embrace the feeling of like somebody really wants you to get better here, and it's worth trying. And that's I mean that was a turning point a little bit as well. And I was like, you know what, fuck. And again, like fuck this. This is not me, and I just want me back. And like I said, I'd started getting better again, and I think this is maybe the middle of May. I'd um I'd gotten back to work, and it wasn't long. I think I'd maybe gotten back on I'd originally been to be a Monday, but there was just zero chance that was going to happen, was it? So I think we'd actually went for the Tuesday, and like I say, like work were absolutely amazing, and still are. I'm absolutely amazing with this because, like I said, this has been different. Like I've had mental health problems for years, but nothing like this year. So this has been really eye opening in terms of support and whatnot. Is what I'm trying to say too. And boss was really understanding, really, really, really slow, and it's quite casual. Come in, just again, if you get in and you sit in your desk and you log in and you type an email, and that email is just to say, "I'm here, but I'm away." That's good enough for me. As long as then you start making progress on that, and that was so uplifting as well. Like that really helped. And going back in, things were flowing. I was really exhausted still. I wasn't sleeping well still at all. I was dealing with a lot of trauma of the thoughts of obviously what was going through my head at the bath at the time. Like I say, it was a very long period of time of isolation that I've learned a lot about myself. Put it that way. And yeah. So it started kind of getting a little bit better, and then it was um it was going up to my birthday. So my birthday this year was a Saturday, and I can't remember if I was off work on the Friday on holiday or not. I honestly can't quite remember. So anyway, I'd yeah. So my birthday weekend was the absolute shitter from hell, basically. And I don't know why again this happened, but basically, the Friday night I'm supposed to be doing something, and it was no problem that it didn't happen, and that like it was fine. That was fine. I didn't like it was going to involve drinking, and to be honest, I didn't really fancy drinking at the time, so I was kind of relieved. That kind of like you kind of look forward to plans, but at the same time you're kind of like, I don't really want to be scuppered by this. So I was kind of relieved at the same time too, the way I'd been feeling. I was really tired and exhausted, so I'd went up to bed relatively early, and I think like maybe back at 9 o'clock or something like that. And yeah, got off to sleep, absolutely sound. And then I woke up. I think it was like 2 or 3 in the morning, and the anxiety was back, but it was different. It was, it was like no physical. It was, in fact, I don't even call it anxiety. That's the thing. This is the thing. I don't even know if all of this is anxiety. This is the thing that I'm challenging now. And oh my god, my chain of thought. Yeah, so I'd woken up at like 2, 3 in the morning, and yeah, my head was just exploding with what an alcohol head noise. But this was pounding, 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 and it was terrifying. Just the voice when I talk about voices, I don't mean schizophrenic voices. I'm very aware that it's my subconscious speaking to me. It just seems that there's a lot of repeated volume up and down, and it's very, very, very intense. It's what I've explained or it's been explained to me, it's called a pseudo hallucination. Basically, when your body is in like a massively heightened sense of anxiety and it's kind of going into shock, your body's just hitting you with a load of shocky auditory responses to fuck knows why. Anyway, so yeah, so this is like banging off in my head, and I was done again. That was it. That was it, and I just broke down, and I could not stop crying at the fear of I was not going back into what I'd been like, what I'd just gone through. That was it. There was there was zero chance. Um, I was going back to that. I wasn't like even to this day. I still don't. Fuck that. And but it was just obviously it was so soon. I just felt, oh, here we go again. And yeah, so I was an absolute mess that day. And I think I'd like taken myself up to bed at like 1 o'clock or something like that in the afternoon. Because I was been up so late and like I said, I was exhausted anyway. I think I managed to get off to sleep, and when I woke up, everything felt really, really, really calm, and I felt really, really, really fine again. And it felt like, oh my god, that's it. Like honestly, like it just felt so calm and so peaceful. And I remember I went downstairs, and Sass was really tired as well because, like I say, she just didn't know when I was having the bad days. She just didn't know how to handle me, and she thought I needed isolation. That's what I wanted. So basically, when I came downstairs, she kind of read that as right. I'll take myself away, have a little bit of time for herself because I never, I would making any indication of like, oh my god, I'm cured. And yeah, and it was weird. I was fine. I was absolutely fine. And then I was sat there and I was just watching TV, and then it was just like bang, that was it. And it was I can't and I won't go into the great details of this bit for obvious reasons. But it's like something completely took over me, and there was no fear, and it was almost in my mind then that it was right. This is it. That this is it, because I knew what was about to come. I knew the feeling, what was about to start channeling for me, and yeah, so I just left the house, grabbed my car keys, and off I went. And like I say, I'm not going to go into any too great details of this. So we're driving around, and I was fine. Like I say, it was very, very bizarre. I didn't feel a lot of anything. Um, I wasn't even thinking about it. But like the thing was, I wasn't actually thinking of anything. My brain was totally fucking dead at this point. It had just been that it was fried. It was fried. It fried. It was terrified. That's a good one. And yeah, and then it hit me. And there's a couple of songs that I'm going to say, whether it's worked or not, they'll be edited into this episode that I want to show kind of the reflection of how I was feeling at the time. And there was a song that came on that it just really hit me of what I was now intending. And I was just became an absolute sobbing mess. And what is my new one of my new places that I like to go and channel some pieces was obviously where I ended up. And like I said, I'm not going to go any further than that, really. But I'm not, or I didn't, and I'm here. So, and I don't know why. Well, I do know why, but and it's real, and I've never had an experience like that, and I never ever want to have an experience like that in my life again, and I never want anybody else to have an experience like that ever again. And it was that much of a life changing moment is exactly why I'm doing this, why I've ended up here on the 27th of December at 3:30 in my bedroom recording a podcast on my mental health. Because at that point, everything changed again. And yes, a lot of trauma, and it took a bit more time off work, and it took a lot getting back into normality as such after that, because a lot of things did not scare me. And do I dare say don't scare me now, that did before. And it was very, very, very weird. and it was a very odd feeling. And I don't know. But it was obviously just I was feeling at the time too. But obviously, it's like a constant heightened anxiety. I was tired all the time. I was stupidly aggressive at people at work sometimes, which I'm wholly sorry for. Like I always say, being accountable doesn't always mean forgivable. And yeah, so it took a lot of time, but the beauty of my job, my beauty, the absolute worst thing of my job is the summertime because I'm exceptionally busy. We have our pea season. Yes, I work with peas, and we have a harvest, and that typically runs from June-ish to anywhere from August to October. God forbid it ever does the October one again. That was terrible. And yeah, it's just really busy shift work, kind of constant, off and on. Even in your off, you're kind of always. It's weird. You hate it, but you love it. So it's one of them jobs that you absolutely despise at times, but you kind of get away from it because it's like a. I guess it's kind of like we always joke about. It's kind of like the deadliest catch in it. Like nowhere near as extreme. But it's it can be quite intense at sometimes. And I was looking forward to it because I knew that was if I got to that, and this is really weird, and this is obviously when I like I talk about my work, like I do love my work. Um, it gets me down sometimes, and like things. Probably this year I've not handled a lot of things very well, but I'm not here to talk about my job. But yeah, it was kind of weird because as much as we dread it, I knew that if I just get to that, just get to it, that's going to keep my mind busy enough. I don't need to think about this shit just now. Like I know it sounds irresponsible, but at the time, it's what I needed to do was just put this stuff to the back of my mind just for a day, just for one day, because like this is 24/7. Even now, it's not as bad that I don't think about mental health quite as much, but you have to understand and appreciate that every living second that I wasn't asleep, I was analyzing myself or my environment to make sure I was not going to end up back in a bath again. Like super, super, super heightened anxiety, which is annoying and hard for people to deal with, and I totally respect that. I'm a fucking nightmare at times, trust me. And yeah, so get to the P season, and no, no, we're not getting to the P season yet. So yeah, so like I said, Muse that happened in June too, and that was massive. That was like get to the P season, get to Muse more like. Sorry, quick water refreshment there, and so so yeah, Muse was the 23rd of June. E-season was starting on the Monday after that, actually, which was the 25th of June. So nice timing. So yeah, if I could just get to Muse, that was like my thing. But the thing with Muse is it's like all the time, obviously, that was in the bath. I was just like, I was just listening to a lot of music. A lot of music is a lot of Muse to me. So I was just like, I was getting really disheartened. I was getting really upset. Really, really, really gutted and torn. I was just like, I've been looking forward to this for ages. They didn't tour Glasgow last time. It's been 2017 since I've seen them. To keep in mind, I'm a mega fan. Um, and it was really hard pill to swallow. Um, and I just didn't, yeah, like, I didn't, it's weird. I didn't want to go because I knew how I was probably going to feel, but I knew I had to go. I knew I owed it to myself to give it a go. And I certainly owed Sass a fucking day out as anyway. So yeah, her encouragement along the way for that was quite good. So yeah, we got the train up and we took the day really slow, which was really nice. Like I say, our old days are long gone now that we'd be on it. Or I'd be on it before I even got the taxi or the bus into Berwick, 8 o'clock in the morning or whatnot. Um, and this was just nice and relaxed kind of day. And I remember, right, I'd the worst fucking bit of this entire journey was obviously I hadn't drank alcohol since basically uh, April, April 22nd, and or something like that. Yeah, I would say so. And yeah, so I was just like, again, we're not going mental, but I'm gonna have a good time. I owe myself a good time, and keep in mind, like at this time, like I know alcohol isn't really good for me, so I know I'm going to be responsible anyway. Like even like a couple of pints, it's okay. You can have that. And so we were getting connected in bloody train at Glasgow, Edinburgh, and it was like half an hour or something. So we're like, right, cool. We'll go to that little cool pub in the corner that they've got in Princes Street that usually does relatively banging pints from what I remember. And nah, I got an Amstel, which again is one of my favourites, by the way. And oh, fucking minging. First sip of it, I was nearly spewing again. Jesus Christ, I cannot believe I drank this for years. Honestly, like I think my taste buds have just like you cannot drink that. And I'm not like that now. It was a horrible pint. Sass confirmed it was a disgusting pint, but what an anticlimax to the entire thing. And I kind of flat. Honestly, I was kind of like, oh, I was quite looking forward to that. And yeah. So anyway, we get up to Glasgow and do a little bit of shopping, and then head back to the hotel. And yeah, so one thing that we'd usually do is obviously like go out for a bit of food, but it was kind of like, look, we're not going to do that. We're just going to get a takeaway. We'll take it back to the room. Like I say, nice and slow day. It was nice, and like I say, it was really nice of Sass to appreciate that as well, because she wants to get out and enjoy herself. And yeah, so we are back in the room, and just kind of getting ready, and I felt really quite good. Went downstairs. This time I got a little cider, which I was actually really enjoying. And then yeah, and then it just hit me again, just really bad waves of anxiety. I was like, oh my god! Like I remember we were sat outside the hotel. Yeah, this is June, so it was not. It was like at the gig. God, it rained so much, but uh, it was quite warm, but yeah, just like flooded with sweat straight away again, anxiety all over, straight up to the room, like dampening myself off. I was like, oh no, 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 no. Like, but yeah, actually, if I look back at my Instagram archive, I probably got some like a lot of stories about it at the time. And I was just like, nah, I'm gonna have to go home. Like, I can't do that. I can't put myself through this because remember at the time, like, I'm super heightened. I'm gonna avoid anything that's gonna worsen my symptoms at this point. So to me, going to the gig, as much as it's something that I had to do, it was in my mind the worst thing to do because as I was just like, if I go there and I get worse, I'm done. I'm out in the middle of fucking nowhere, Bella Houston Park, and which is a nightmare of a venue, by the way. Just putting it out there if anybody from Glasgow listens. And yeah, so I hate Bella Houston Park, man. So bad for a venue. Um, so yeah, I was in the room, and again, yeah, I put a status on, and again, it was Keith. I remember it was Keith and Jordan. Jen, instant on the messages. Like, you've got it, you go do this. And then obviously like message from Sass came through as well at the same time. You okay? You okay? You don't, what do you want to do? And it was just like nah. Like the shit I dealt with on my birthday this is not defining me again. Like I am not going to end up like this again. I have to go and do this. And which I know people might be like, "What? It's just a gig." Trust me, if you've suffered from agoraphobia or social anxiety in big like crowds and that, blend them all into one, and that was what I was walking into. It wasn't fun, and then and bear in mind, this was the first time that I was doing an entire day like this without alcohol, really, which again, my head was spinning, and so we get there and we get to the gig in wartime. And yeah, probably for the first I would say up to an hour. There was a really good support band on when we got there. There's a load of girls in the band, they were really good. And when they went off, I think it's because the music went off, I was like, oh shit. Like my anxiety is starting again. And like I said, I wasn't really drinking at this point there. I think we'd picked up like one cider when we got there. I was like, nah, I'm not Mars about this. Like I'll just have a bottle of Coke. And yeah, and then we were kind of like walking about because, like I say, when I get like quite bad anxiety and quite fidgety, I hate being seated. I have to keep on walking about the place. Um, so I was just like I was bobbing backwards and forwards and kind of walking around the kind of grass, sitting there. And then we found a really good bit that was actually quite close up to the stage. And then Twin Atlantic came on, and wow, they were really, 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 really good. I was really quite impressed. And like I said, put on my Instagram posts every day, I was really quite stupidly negative about them. I think it was the guy's voice. There is something about that, like, Scottish twangy voice that mm, I just found it a little bit annoying, I suppose, at the time. But when you hear it live, it's actually really good. They're really rocky, really louder than what I thought they were. I thought they were more of a kind of poppy rock band, but no, they're up there, like. And then so that did help because I was kind of bobbing. I was like, yeah, this is more like it. This is like, yeah, I can feel that bass on my chest. And then they went off, and then again, like between Muse, I was like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Again, I just hurry up and get on, hurry up and get on. I just like, I want to do this, but I want to do this and get the fuck out of this as fast as I can. Um, I'm just being honest. And then yeah, and then Muse came on, and I just lost it. I just absolutely lost it. Sass let me lose it. I was jumping around with people. I was making friends. I was hugging folk. I was just having the best time of my life. Yeah, I needed that so badly. I just had all this energy in me that just I had to get rid of it somehow. And music, for anybody that's plays music or really is into their music, they'll really understand. But anybody can understand. Well, but it's so stupid. Anybody can understand that. Anybody can feel the power of music, and it really moves you. And that's something that I'm really in entwined with is lyrics and emotion and how it can drive you and how we can listen to something and it can really resonate with you. And Muse is something that's done that for me over the years. But the weird, wild, conspiratorial lyrics are obviously where a lot of where I get my inspirations from. And they really have affected my life. And I think at that point there was nothing more important to me than seeing them. That was just like the major. I've got through this, and now we're gonna really start recovering, and now you can try and get back to where you were, and you can try and get a little bit of Andrew back. And that gig was just so fucking cool. I was really disheartened actually because I found out before the gig that they're actually playing the festival set, not the actual world tour set. This is just random bit of info, which is like 5 songs shorter. I was so fucking angry, like really quite distasteful on their Twitter or X, let's just call it now. But it was a great gig, and it rained so heavy. And to be fair to them, the show went on. It could have. I mean, imagine that if it got cancelled halfway through. I fucking hell. Talk about bad luck. Imagine if that did happen to me. I never actually thought of that. Um, yeah. So it was an amazing gig, and it really did just yeah, it just done everything for me. It just done everything that I needed it to do for me at the time. And getting back out. And the Sunday I didn't feel too good. I will admit that, and we had to come home a little bit earlier, which was a bit of a shame. But well, no, actually, we stayed up for a little bit longer than what we thought we were originally going to do in the morning, so that was quite cool. And it was good. And like I said, then the P season was there, and it took me time again to think about getting back to the gym because I had to be really, really conscious about my general weight and appetite. I mean, I'm not saying I was like frail, but I'd lost a lot of weight. Like I, I just clipped my fingers, but you're probably not going to be able to hear that. And yes, I dropped like a stupid amount of weight because obviously I was making myself sick and complete loss of fluids and all what like that. And yeah, I think it was like 4 stone or something in total, but in a really short space of time too. So it's kind of like I wanted to get back to the gym. Pardon me, just burping again. I really wanted to get back to the gym, but I was conscious that just take it slow because you've been hit with something pretty significant actually, and it still has like it was still having a massive effect on me. Like I'm still having like a lot, like I've said before, a lot of head noise. Like yes, I was better, but I was having to do a hell of a lot to kind of keep that balance going, which was usually, I was up. That's why I just started training at like 3 in the morning when I did get back to the gym because that was kind of a difficulty. That I was thinking, how am I going to get back if I can't sleep? and then I'm at work and yada yada. It's impossible for me to try and fit this back into my schedule. Because one massive thing that I need to mention as well that helped in my recovery, and over water break, was meditation. I'd really taken on meditation um, quite massively at that point, and it was really a saving grace in the bath. Um, Learn a lot of different types of meditation. Um, Very aware now that it's meditation is not just meditation, but any kind of meditation to anybody is helpful, no matter what that is. That could be reading a book, that could be cycling a bike, that could be sitting in a bath going anything can be meditating, which is something that everybody needs to appreciate. And oh, damn it, I went so far off course that I've lost where I was again. Meditating. Yeah, so it really helped me and try to fit back the gym back into this kind of schedule because I was meditating, and it was important to me. And I was still bathing at this time. Let's remember this: I was still bathing at this time, not every day, but I would say every second day or every third day. I was still getting back into my bath. I was still doing my routine because I was if I was as it sounds so weird, but I was attached to it. It felt like I still needed to go back to that place where I felt safe once every now and then, just to feel that kind of sense of calmness again. And that's when I really go into like a deep meditation of a couple of hours or whatnot. I might say you learn a lot about yourself and during them times and them sittings. And yeah, and I just thought, you know what, if just go back to the gym, just go back to the gym. And so I think originally, yeah, it probably would have been at a regular time, but very quickly I was just like, you know what, if I'm going to be awake at 3 in the morning, I'm going to be awake at 3 in the morning. I just have to just roll with it. And so if that was that, then I wouldn't specifically set my alarm for 3 in the morning. That was the thing. I'd maybe wake up at 25 to 3, and I thought, yeah, okay, go get breakfast, be in the gym for 3:30. Same, if it was an hour later, great. If it's 2 hours later, even better. Don't go to the gym. You've had a good night's sleep. Now it's time to go to work. So like everything was kind of done in proportionation to there was always kind of a positive to it, if that makes sense. I wasn't just going just because like, oh, I'm going to get big again. There was nothing like that. I had to get out to the gym for my head, and this is really important to anybody that goes to the gym. Is for me, yes, I put myself into kind of fitness challenges and whatnot, but the gym for me is never now get big, get big, big, get big. It's a totally different narrative and a totally different motive for me now. It's completely my time. It's my self care. If I go in there and I decide to do 4 sets and think, nah, that's it, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. It's my life. I'm not going to be a bodybuilder. I'm not going to be, have a fitness career. That gym specifically for me is my psychological de-stress, and it's so good for it because you get to bash around heavy weights and you get to lift and grunt and feel really strong, and it makes you feel a little bit manly. Come on, let's not lie; it really does help you in that sense. So, yeah, so the gym then started becoming really, really, really important to me again, and certainly getting back in, seeing people really, really, really helped recovery. Well, yeah, even just highs and buys, it all helps. Because my brain, I'm contemplating before I leave room. Should I say hi? Should I say bye? Should I say hi? Should I say bye? That's the kind of thought process that goes through my head. So even that kind of stuff is kind of helpful. So we're having it in the P season, and I was doing good. Well, like I say, I was getting exhausted still. Like my sleep was still only, you know, 2-3 hours a night maybe. And then, working 12 hours a day with another job that you're probably punting, Andy, if you laugh, you'll laugh at this, 20 to 30,000 steps a day. Not that we keep a competition going. And they, yeah, it's quite a tiring job that time of year too, especially when you're doing days and nights again. Anybody with shift work can kind of understand that and appreciate it. And yeah, so it was a good time because I was getting busy, but I was getting busy and I was getting tired. And being tired with any kind of mental health condition is not good because it's just going to manifest and it's just going to play on that. Play on that. It's just going to get worse for you. And so I was very consciously, worrying again a little bit about my sleep and that, and I'm worried that I was going to end up in the same way that I was and kind of go back to how it felt and whatnot. And like I said, they're legitimately worries. I was fucking traumatized. And yeah, so it's kind of like the hard balance. And then whether it's stupid or not, I don't know. I just kept going. I kept going, and the gym then became the daily thing. It wasn't the bath anymore. It was the gym. And this is what I mean. This is why it was so important to me that it didn't matter if I was there for 5 minutes or 5 hours every day. If I was there 7 days a week, I knew that I was in a way I was taking care of myself because I was being responsible enough to think that this is helping you. This is positives in your life. Grab onto the positives. Do not let them go. Is what I've said before, and I've echoed in my first videos. It doesn't matter what it is. If it's important to you, meditation was massive for me. It's one of the things that got me through this. Messages on Instagram were another thing that got me through this. The gym is another thing that got me through this. These are the really important things that I still maintain in my life that I still need to drive forward with because they really helped me at the most crucial point in my life. And this is why I'm so adamant that if you find anything, it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks about it, you just do it. And fuck anybody else, basically. It's gonna make you feel a lot easier. So yeah, things were going pretty well, and then I'd started the Instagram page at Andrew's Anxiety Adventure, and yeah, things were going. I was really nervous when I first started doing that. I won't lie, I was absolutely fucking bricking it, and I didn't really know what I was doing or why I was doing it. I just know I just felt like I kind of had to do it. That it was kind of the if for me that's as close as what you can kind of get to without kind of going ahead and doing it and then surviving to kind of telling the tale. So and not a lot of people like to speak about it. So it's just like, you know what, you've got an opportunity here that you've got a story that might help someday. And if it helps, like I've always said, if it helps that one person, then job well done. It's a success. Pat me on the back. Um, because that's it. It's as simple as that. That's what that page will always be. It's what the podcast will always be. It's a tool to try and help people. There'll be people listening to this that will relate to me. There's people listening to this that will not relate to me. I really hope that people that will not relate to this will never relate to this, is what I'm trying to say. And this is what all this is for. So we started the page and it was doing quite well. Yeah, getting a lot of good positive feedback. And yeah, things were going really swimmingly. Like I was still dealing with a lot of bad head noise at the time. And for me then I was just like I was feeling a lot better. Like I wasn't feeling in like the dark places that I've been, but I knew I was going to have to make some really kind of like wholesale changes to my life at this point. And I hadn't drank in a while, so obviously that was kind of the first thing of being like, you know what, you just let's just avoid alcohol. It's probably me and alcohol just part ways for the foreseeable future. And and balance. Balance is something that I've dealt with badly over the years, and balancing things now is a lot easier, and because I'm a lot more or less thoughtful of the analyzation of what might make me feel better, I just go ahead and do it. Which might, that can annoy people, but it's like I've said before, if you can get that little bit of happiness out of your day, and you go ahead and do it, and at times, like I've said before, mental health can be selfish, and it can make people selfish, but they're only being selfish because they've got nothing else to be, they're chasing something, they're chasing happiness, and let them have it. If it's that hour a day, let them have it. Don't question it, and don't query it, and certainly don't put it down or mock it. And spread love. It's end that one with. Now I've totally lost my chain of thought. So yeah, I think I'm roughly in July now, and we're going to move into August because there was a really cool fun event in August. They really got my head spinning to an event again, and that was a fun run. And that again, people can look at that and think that's only a 5K run. Like I've said before, I was not bothered about it being a 5K run. And that was going to be the first time that I'd really been out in IMOF again since a long time. Um, well, it was a long time, months. Other than work, the co-op, or the garage, you would not have seen me around about IMOF between April and August. And Yeah. So that was kind of like the very first time that I was ever kind of going to go back and kind of like socialize in Nemo. So I was really quite worked up and quite nervous about it. And it was really cool. It was really cool. I had mate Chris was back from NZ, and couple of guys down from Glasgow and whatnot, and it was a really cool night. And Keith was amazing. Yeah, got a good picture of me and Keith. That photo's going to get uploaded soon. And a good kind of chat, and it was just Alan and Sean, and it was really good just to see everybody properly again. And yeah, I suck at running. Really suck at running. I'm getting better now for high rocks, Sean. And it's like I was gonna go the day. You seen the fucking weather the day? My days that was horrible. Plus my glutes are really sore. Anyway, the less of the glute talk. So August is when the first ideas of the podcast really started forming as well. And that was let's say my mate Lefty. We just call him Lefty. If you know me, and then you know who Lefty is. If you don't know me, then you probably won't know who Lefty is. You might know who Lefty is. You might know him now because I've said it so many times. Anyway, and yeah, so he was like a really good positive, like I've said, kind of like cornerstone, rockish friend. Like I kind of say, he probably doesn't, he probably hardly. He's probably thinking that now, but no, he was really sound. He was really supportive, really kind of gun ho, kind of get behind me, kind of skip on at the videos and keep on at the page. And yeah, it was actually a conversation with him on WhatsApp that's just like, kind of on the idea of maybe doing something like a podcast with this sort of stuff. It just seems like it might be a bit more easier, take up a little less time from doing videos and whatnot. Plus, there's only so much videos I can make, um, and that's kind of what sparked the podcast idea. And when anybody that knows me well will know that when I get an idea, like that's it. That's what I'm doing, and I'm going to put 115% of my time and energy into that. And again, I can be a selfish person at the best time, at the best time, whatever you call it. If I've got an idea, I will really want to get in on it. I get really excited and I get really passionate and driven about something. And this was it. That I was just like, when this kind of flicked in my head with the podcast, I was like, yes, like I can 100% see me doing something like that. And really quickly, working night shifts out, um, when you've got nice kind of quiet nights and whatnot. It's just kind of just a little bit of research on Google and whatnot. Check out some forums. How easy is it? Seems really easy. Can you make money off of it? No. Do I care? No. That's like I say, I'm not really here for the money. As long as you kind of got that small investment, kind of get on the things, kind of local loyal fan base, and then it's going to spread. And yeah, I was kind of like, all right, cool. So I kind of had the idea, toying with the idea, had like the podcast kit in the Amazon basket for weeks on end. And then yeah, I was just like, what, at the end of the P season, we're gonna get into this. Right. And that's gonna be my goal. And from there, that's when my time really started become like I'm becoming far more involved in other things that I've never really done before. And I mean that in the way that like as I'm not diagnosed ADHD, but for years I've struggled to stay still and like really been constrained. It felt at times with energy. I'm not just saying that from like not even from like a hyperactive point of view. I mean like also just like a mental point of view. And anybody who knows me will know that I'm fast. I butt in. I don't mean to butt in conversations all the time. I end sentences, kind of trademarks. And I think after all this happened, there was something dropped in my head that I was just like, you know what? Forget about what anybody else thinks about you. Just be yourself and just let it go. Just live a little bit more freely, and that's what I've been doing. So, and it's not that I don't like it. It's just that, like I said, now I rarely watch TV because I can't sit I don't want to sit for any length of time unless I really want to. Unless it's like something really good on, or I'm just kind of cuddling sass, or um, if I'm maybe on the couch for a little nap or anything like that, then that's slightly different. But to actually sit and watch TV, you know, give me an hour tops, and I'll need to, even in that, I'll be up and around in between that hour. There's no chance that I'm going to sit down for an actual hour running. And So there's loads of different aspects of my life that's slightly different. So like, it was really good at that point that I was kind of transitioning into kind of, how am I going to word this? A new person. Yeah, a totally new person that I was not, not like I was creating somebody new. It's just that I knew what I wanted to be, and I'd learned a lot about myself, and there's a lot of things that I didn't like about myself, and there's still a lot of things I don't like about myself that I'm still trying to deal with. That's the thing. This is an ongoing evolution, so to speak. And so the podcast just kind of just like went plop and fell into the perfect place at the perfect time because it was something that I could then go out and research because I have no idea about any of this stuff before I went into it. So I started reading about kind of like legal licensing and whatnot. It's always good to read up on a bit of the law before you go into anything kind of seriously. I always think that you're going to be broadcasting anyway. And kind of yeah, it was like I said on I can't remember who asked the question the other day that was how easy was it to set up? It was really easy. I went out and got a laptop. That was the first thing that I knew I was going to have to do because my old laptop had to be like continually charged. It was at that stage, the one that you continuously say you're going to get a new one. Anyway, so I knew that I needed a laptop, and like I said, I got a little kit, and I went and got a webcam, and I got some a little soundboard and stuff like that because I have a little bit of like I got a little bit of musical background, quite good musical background actually. Played a lot of music, and so yeah, so it's kind of like I say nothing about this. Like obviously, I'm looking at the Audacity screen now. It makes perfect sense to me. But I mean, like actually setting up a podcast, I had no idea what I was doing. And yeah, it was really easy. Went to Anchor, Spotify, and set up there, got registered. It was really fast verification. And yeah, from there, I still had no idea how I was going to record a podcast or what I was going to talk about. I knew what I was going to talk about. I knew I was going to talk about mental health stuff. I just didn't know how I was going to talk about it. Um, so a lot of kind of doing and throwing the delivery of what I was going to do, and I think at that point I was kind of talking myself out of it. I was just like, you've got this stuff, but this is something now that I'm a little bit too out of my water here, and this is really important because this is something that I've learned since is don't push your luck with your mental health. When I look back now, I was pushing it. I should have put the podcast to the back of my mind for a little bit and just moved away from it, and then went back to it if I really wanted to. Hindsight's a beautiful thing. So I was kind of overstressing it at that point, and eventually I think I just got to the stage I was just like, right, I'm doing it. And I remember the Saturday I was going to record the very first episode, social confirmation. The Sunday, sorry. Yeah, so the Sunday I was going to record the episode. That's basically what happened. And then the Saturday, I'd literally spent all day, like, I'm not joking, like 4 o'clock in the morning to midnight trying to set up my laptop and try to set it up for the podcast. I was getting nowhere. The sound was horrible. The camera didn't work. I didn't even know at that point if I wanted to do a video podcast. I couldn't work out what sounded worse at that point, is the fairest thing to say. So yeah, it wasn't good. And then I'd obviously shared all over my Instagram that a podcast's coming, and had my release date and whatnot. Wasn't going to make the release date because we got up on the Sunday, and I mean I was just that stressed. I was just like, I just can't deal with that today. Like I just fucked myself that much off with it on the Saturday, so I kind of like went back to it, and I think it was then that I got it working bit kind of responsibly. I guess at that point I was just like, you know what, you're in no state of mind to be going talking about this stuff today when you're actually kind of feeling it now. So it's not good to really get your first episode out when you're talking about kind of getting better from having a breakdown and whatnot, and you're going through a breakdown at that point. So we kind of outright put off the gas. Very smart at that point, and it was actually the Monday. I was off work anyway from the shift, so it was actually the Monday that I ended up recording the very first episode of the podcast and got it published. And again, I hate the sound of that episode, but I'll probably leave it there forever. Just because it's the first one, and I look absolutely clueless and scared, sat in the armchair or the dark little room. It's so horrible, and but it felt really good at the same time because I knew that I'd done something different and done something that I was challenging myself at, and that's something that I hadn't done for years too. I hadn't challenged myself and expressed myself in that way. I was becoming very monotone in life, if that makes sense. Very flaccid. And man, I'm so thirsty today. Oh, I'm not first of the day. It's an hour and a half of talking that does that. Jesus, my lungs, by the way. I wonder if this is actually good cardio. Well, not cardio, but you know what I mean for the aerobics. And yeah, so the podcast started up. So that yeah, that was like September. Sorry, I was like jumping all over the place now, aren't I? But this is where yeah, things will just jump all over the place now. So we're in September. The P season's finished. So yeah, so we're into the podcast, and that's when I'd done the first one, and then I came up, and I was just that's when I'd done ghost stories, and that at that time was a like I couldn't believe how many listens that got. Like I'm not joking, I fucking shit myself, and that's what made me really nervous. I'm not gonna lie, because my first episode, obviously the Borderline podcast, I think it took like probably I don't know. I was it's weird this because it depends what you read, I suppose, and depends what you what view you want to listen to. But like when I first started the podcast, like people were saying, if you know if you get 50 views in your first 6 months, 60 plays in your first 6 months, you've probably done quite well. And others were saying, no, it needs to be much higher. So I was never really going to pay much attention to like I still don't pay as much attention to the actual plays, more of that kind of age and geographic locations I'm more into. And so yeah, so the first episode I had like maybe I think it was 19 plays in the first week, which yeah, I was kind of like you know what that's actually quite good if we listen to the person that says 15 in your first 6 months. And, so yeah, relatively I was quite happy with that. But then like I released Ghost Stories, and then it was just like 40. I think it was like 44 plays in the first day, and I was like nah. I was like what the hell's going on here? And then I started releasing more episodes of the podcast, and I don't know. Like I like what I've done with the podcast. Um, well, I am contemplating going back and re-recording every episode now that I've kind of settled. I've kind of got the sound better, and I think there's some useful content in there that everybody can probably take something out of if you can be bothered to listen to me. That is, and I kind of want it in a more professional sort of sound, but I don't want to take away my original sounds as well at the same time. They're there, and they're there of how I felt at the time, and there is in them some really raw emotion of how I felt at the time. So I kind of want to leave them untouched for that reason too. So anyway, well off track, and so end of September, things are going quite well with the podcast, and then that's when I'd kind of decided that I was going to obviously go down the well. I decided it was always going to be the original idea was to get guests on the show and to talk about you know kind of what they do, their story, their life, and you know any kind of mental health problems that they've problems, kind of conditions or times of their life that they've kind of struggled with, how they dealt with it, and yeah, I love the guest shows. Like, I absolutely, they've been the best part of this for me. They're so interesting to hear some people's stories and whatnot. Like different, totally different walks of life in that respect. That like some people are doing something totally differently, and it's just really cool. It's so cool. And so I wanted to get into the guest shows, and for some reason, the narcissist god complex, I guess, and we thought it was always a good idea for me to be the first guest. And again, this was the first time that I was ever going to record with two people, so I went away and I'd got like the mics, and stupid old me thought that you could just stick straight two mics into a laptop and it would not be a problem. How wrong was I? It's completely a problem. And so I then learned the horrors of voice meter. I don't know if you've ever heard me talking about that, which is basically a internal a software that you can download to kind of bypass that your soundware systems in your PC, and it's just a pain in the arse. It's really good, like it works, but it's just really annoying. If you put something wrong, then that is it. It's done. It's one of them things. It's throw it away. It's completely you've ruined it. So again, we kind of had it all set that I was going to go and record this on Sunday night, and literally all Sunday day, like oh sorry, we are going to record this on like Sunday afternoon and then have like a chilled Sunday night, and then like literally all day I was trying to fiddle around with this voice meter. I could not get the two mics. They sounded horrible. They were echoey. It was distorted, or they would cut out. And then I think it got to like 7 o'clock, and I finally got it working. And I was like, yahoo! And keep in mind, sorry, building up to this, like I said, the head noise was still quite strong at this point, as well during the week. So I was all been feeling quite good. Like I was still getting battered in my head. My sleep still wasn't that great. And then, and this is what I mean before of like when I knew, when I know now, take your foot off the fucking gas. Because that podcast episode alone is, I've never went back to doing that for a specific reason, and it put me under so much stress. I'm not very good at being interviewed, or wasn't then good at being interviewed. And well, it wasn't like I was bad at being interviewed. Um, it was just like I said, head noise was such a problem for me at the time. And we started recording. We just got Bella as well at the time, and she was being a little gem, to be fair. She was just asleep on SAS. And as much as I was being interviewed, it was more me talking and kind of reflection, kind of sad. It was actually really good material. I've actually got it saved on here somewhere, and some of it's really quite funny. And we were talking, and then my brain just went, and it went completely dead. And as what happens now, and when it goes dead, it goes dead, like complete nothingness, like looking up into space. But I know I'm there, like, but there's just nothing. There's no. Like, it's hard to explain because there's nothing to explain. Um, so yeah, and then so we'd like try to kind of start talking for a bit, recording, and I was getting to the stage that I was maybe talking for literally. I mean, you've heard of me doing it a couple of times now during this episode, but I'm really good now. This isn't edited, and I've been quite good at kind of getting it back on track. Like at that point, there was zero chance I would get anything back on track. When that part goes, it's gone. End of. You're like, even if SAS turns around and says we're talking about that, I'm not. I couldn't really remember how we were talking about it or why we were talking about it. So I was just getting so frustrated and so worked up and so angry and intense, and I could just feel the anxiety growing and growing and growing. And then I was poof, off I went again, and nowhere near as bad. Like I wasn't in the bath, but anxiety, man, was fucking awful. And I ended up off work again, and that's when I was just like, nah, the change has to happen. We have to look at the medication again. This is too intense. I've messed out a massive part of the story now that I've talked about medication. So at this point, I have been going back to the doctors, and I'm up to 40 milligrams of citalopram. So we went back to surgery. We went back to citalopram all the way back in January, an hour and 45 minutes ago, and now we went back to citalopram, but now we're up to the very high, the maximum dosage of 40 milligrams, and I don't think that was helping me. I really don't think that was helping me. I think that was making my thought process really intense and fast, and it was definitely not helping my sleep. Keep in mind, citalopram completely does your libido too. It takes a lot away from you, or it did for me at quite high dosages. And the way I've spoken before about erectile dysfunction and whatnot, kind of natural sometimes as you're getting older, but citalopram really kind of hits that hard, or I found it did anyway. And yeah, so I was just like, right, changing. Keep in mind, I'd um, like leading up to this, I'm not good at the doctors. Like, I don't like the doctors there. So, like, we'd done the episode, and I had a doctor's appointment anyway on the Tuesday night, and I phoned in to work on the Monday. I was just like, look, I'm not going to be in today or tomorrow. I've got the doctors on Tuesday night. I'm going to get things sorted then. I'm going to speak to them. I want to get my medication changed. I know that's not an immediate, like, you don't just swap a medication, start taking another one, you start feeling better. It does not work like that at all. But at least I kind of knew that, like I've said before, if you get something positive in your life at that time, grab a hold of it and keep going with it. And to me, getting to the doctors on that night was going to be my relief. It was going to be the way that I was going to bring a little bit of positivity back into my life and a little bit of shape. And so I went down to the doctors. It was the back of six, which I'm going to guess doctors just can't be arsed at that time of night because I'm not here to hate. But I was pretty, yeah, I have no problem in saying this. I was treated disgustedly. Um, Scoffed at when you're saying that you're feeling that you're going back into a thought of suicidal tendencies and thoughts. It's not nice, especially when you're shitting yourself before going in. But again, I'm not here for hate. People make mistakes. I'm sure he didn't mean to do it, or she. And yeah, so the doctors were zero help to me, and that just ruined me. It just, like, I remember what my choices were. Come back because I think you're actually better on no medication whatsoever. And until you're ready to think like that, there's nothing that we can do other than going back to CBT, which I've spoken plenty about CBT before. That I don't hate CBT. It just doesn't work for me anymore. I've done it so that long, it just doesn't seem to work. Like citalopram didn't work for me. CBT wasn't working for me. And so yeah, the thing that was my only choice is there's always the third choice that I've had the tendencies of this year, and that's the one that I'm trying to avoid, and that's the one that in my head thought, fuck that, like surely we're not ending up in this thought process again, because that's the way that I was headed, and I felt really scared, and I didn't do well that week, and yeah, so things were kind of sorted in the doctors in respect to that. That's all I really want to say on that. So I'd ended up going back to the doctors and they'd spoken to me and kind of negotiated an appointment. I guess that's the way that you could put it. And yeah, to be fair, she was amazing and she was great, very understanding, listened to my worries, took them on board, took on the approach on board that I wanted to do. That I was terrified of coming off the citalopram. And like I've said in messages and videos and podcasts before, citalopram is known as a suicide drug for people when they come off of it. People come off of it too fast, they're doing fine, and then all of a sudden they die. And it's not a fun drug, and coming off of it is not fun at all. So I was really, really, really scared and apprehensive, and I knew I was going to need time off work. That's like I knew I was gonna. There's no way I was going to be in any sort of mental mind because I'm going to be self-analyzing everything and avoiding anything that I like. It's not even the fact that like I couldn't go to work. I couldn't go to work because I'd be such a fucking burden to everybody else at work. I'd be intensely horrible to be around because I would have to do things in a certain way. It's just not worth it. So I knew that I had to take time off work, which again doesn't really agree with me. But I knew this time it was just like it was real, and like this is kind of the way out of this. Like give this a chance, and fuck me, I'm so glad I did. So basically, yeah, I ended up switching and I still can't say it. Metrazapine. I think that's it. And yeah, so I still can't say Valetin either. um, so yeah, so I ended up doing like it's like a 7 week switch. Um, 7 week switch, 9 week switch. I can't remember. From like 40 milligrams of citalopram to 30 milligrams of metrapsapine, and whatever you want to call it. And yeah, like the metrapsapine is brilliant. Honest, I mean, it's like night and day compared to the citalopram. It does make my head a lot freer. I've got a much more loose kind of thoughts. I notice it does seem to make me a little bit more hyperactive than usual. I get quite when I'm talking. But generally, yeah, anxiety wise, it really has knocked it off, knocked out the park. So massive positives to that. Coming off citalopram, um, probably not as bad as a worried, but again, that was a really nice slow approach to it. It was quite methodical. It was at my own pace, and which really helped. And like I say, like I've said in post before, it's fine to say no to your GP, and there is sometimes that you're going to know a little bit more than them. Just to put on that, it's not that you're going to cause offense to them if you question something. I'm just going to use the honest example of my medication change, and that was that originally it was going to be 1 week to 40 milligrams to 20 milligrams of citalopram to zero and a little bit of crossover metrapsapine in between over like a 3 to 4 week period. But I was just like no, I know there's dangers. I know there's exceptional risk potentially for myself having that what's kind of still there. And doctors were great. Again, they're like, yeah, that's fine. That makes total sense. That's fine. Let's do it like that. If that makes sense to you and that's safe, yeah, let's do it. So that's what I mean. Like, don't quit. Like, it's fine to question stuff sometimes to the doctors. It doesn't always mean offense. And so we done that, and that's been the really good one of this year. It's been the one that I'm really, really, really satisfied. I'm really, really happy that I'm done. And so at this point, we're in November. Like I realize now, I'm also conscious of the time that I've been talking for an incredibly long time. I'm getting quite tired of talking. And yeah, so we're in kind of latter stages of the year, and the podcast is taken off, and we do the although I think it was October. Obviously, I done the first guest show with Alan, and that was brilliant to do with Alan. Alan's been somebody that's been really just big. I don't know how would you just big happy bear style. Always kind of has your back sort of guy, doesn't he? Just wants to get the best out of you, Alan. And he just what a guy. He's just an absolute hero. And Yasmin as well. Her episode was absolutely superb. I might end up beating the length of it today with this one, which is impressive. But we're definitely going to get Yasmin back on. She's superb, massive spirit in her to get into the We Are the Universe, and a lot of good things for her charities as well. It's going to be a really, really, really fun year coming up working with her. So really looking forward to it. And obviously, I'll never guess Paul, and it's been so fun. It's been so fun, and like to come through to like November where we were, and that's when things have really started picking up with the podcast. And that's where I'm really happy with the direction that's going. Is and this isn't the money banks and me talking, but we've been at the stage for quite some time that we could have started making money off of it, but I'm still not, because I don't want to, and that's not me feed myself full of the good karma and be the brown nose. Is because I genuinely do not believe that anybody should have to pay for content like this. It's helpful, and anything helpful should be for free. The more that we do for free, the more people are going to be happier in life. That's the easiest solution. This is the way out of this, and it's a simple solution. I don't me to make money out of it is not a solution. It might make my life easier. It isn't going to make all the other people's lives easier if they cannot pay for the content. So makes no sense. So it was really cool to kind of have them opportunities anyway, kind of laid out in November. And from then it has kind of been like, right, how and where can we take this? Because it is picking up this gaining of momentum. And that's what really sparked in We Are the Universe. That I thought at the time, you know what, you're gonna end up doing something for charity next year, because at the time I'd signed up for High Rocks. So basically that came about because I don't even know how. That was it. We done Alan's episode with the podcast. I'd been up the next day to publish it with him, and Sean was in there, and I think he just said to me, "You never fancied High Rocks?" And I was just kind of asking him about it. I was just like, "Well, I'm kind of looking for something to do next year." Wasn't thinking anything like that. That stuff scares me in the gym, and because it's so intense, and so I've learned. And the seed was planted. This is a really good thing about Sean. The seed was planted straight away. Yeah. And yeah, I owe him a lot for that, because I think it was within the next 48 hours I'd signed up for it. I hadn't even read about what I was doing yet. I'm not taking the piss with that. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what I was going to do, because if I knew what I was going to do, I wasn't going to do it. It's as simple as that. So I thought, yeah, go sign up, and then we start doing the classes, and then we figure out what it's all about. And now I figured out what it's all about. Yeah, it's scary, but it's going to be fun. Scary. It's not going to be horrible. Horrible. Well, saying that, I spewed in my first PT session for shots. I don't really think I could say it can't be that horrible. But that's somebody as well that's been really helpful, especially over the last kind of like latter half of November and into December, with Sean. Kind of taking a couple of sessions with him, and just kind of just to have a perspective, a totally different type of perspective. And I don't mean any offense with that. It's been a brilliant perspective. It's a hard perspective. It's like punch point perspective on life, and like that what you put in, you'll get back out, and things do not come for free. And I love that. And he's really has like pushed me into a new kind of comfort zone with my training. I mean, if I'm off my own back doing farmers walks and walking lunges at the end of my workouts, you know that you're doing something good on me, because that is not me. Um, so yeah, that's been a really helpful thing as well. So the podcast was kind of taken up, and We Are the Universe was coming in. I knew that I was going to be doing something with the Higher Rocks, and yeah, so obviously we done November as well, November at the gym as well, which that was amazing as well to get behind. Again, all these distractions are positive things that you do are just brilliant for your mental health. Highly recommend them. The dip day, oh, that was superb. Honestly, we got like chills. Of course, we got chills, but like that we're down on the beach walk like beforehand, but we were like, I think there's only, and there's like 16 of us here, and I don't even think of all 16 of us are going in, and then just floods of people appeared, like over 50 on like what was a stupidly cold day as well, and yeah, that's why I love Sparta as well so much. It's just so good for like charitable stuff like that, and just like community spirit, uplifted events, and it was cool to be a part of it. And it was cool to kind of get involved with Alan and do a little bit of work with him on that, and that was really 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 cool. And again, all these things help your recovery. So yeah, so the podcast really started picking up a little bit of momentum, and it's kind of where I'm at now at the crossroads with it. That I want, and God, I hope my boss doesn't listen to this one. But I would just be honest. I want to do this. I don't know how, and I don't know why, and I don't know. I don't really care how long it's going to take. But something like this is what I want to do with my life, because this has gotten me back to my life, and this is very, very slowly giving me back. Then giving me, God, I can't speak. Giving me them little bits of Andrew back that I've missed. And there's, it's come. Pardon me. It's coming slowly. But like I said, the importance of balance now is something I take really, really quite seriously. That if I'm, it's like ever since that night with the bad interviewed podcast of myself, that if I'm not up for a podcast, I won't do a podcast. This is always at my pace. Yes, I put myself. I deliberately put myself under pressure that last week, and last week, 2 weeks ago, and had the 3 episodes in 1 week. Yeah, I'm so really cut up about the Sarah episode as well. I'm so pissed off that that had to happen during that episode, because it was such a good episode. But we will sort that another time. But yeah, so the weeks that I did in the free guests, which was obviously Sarah, James, and Adam, it was so good. But it was probably too much looking back now, that I don't think I'd be able to do that again. And I just mean that in an honest way, that it's not that I didn't want to. I loved it. I loved all the time with them all the same. But definitely, I was feeling it towards the end of the week. That was just like more the editing side, like not so much the interviews. Like that's fine. Like it's really good for me, because I get these little bits of anxiety before every time, and that allows me to challenge it without alcohol, or without, because I know I can't, because I've got drive, or I just, it's good to have excuses on top of excuses. Wrap me in fucking cotton wool if you need to. Um, so no, it's really helpful, because it does allow me to challenge things, and it allows me to again analyze myself and kind of see how I'm doing, and pick things apart, which is what I like doing. And the guest shows have certainly helped that. So basically, where we're at to now is thinking about going across to YouTube, and obviously I'm off in the Christmas holidays. Is looking at a YouTube channel, how I'm going to go about that, what I'm actually all going to do. I've no idea. Again, I'm going to take it quite slow. I want to get things right. There's a couple of things that I've done wrong with the podcast that I know that I would have done differently now, and that's obviously maybe having a bank of shows in, and not put myself under that initial pressure. But at the same time, I'm very excitable, and I'm very active minded when it comes to stuff like that. So it was always kind of like, yeah, no, you're going to go and do it. So yeah, December's been quite like wildly fast, like in a way that I've not really had time to think about my mental health, which is just a brilliant positive. Um, people could listen to that and think, well, that's not good. That's amazing for me. For somebody that 7 months ago, 7 or 8 months ago, every second of the day, I was consciously analyzing, observing, and thinking of mental health. If it wasn't my mental health, it was something else to do with mental health. Um, to be at a stage that I didn't have to think about it was so relaxing. My sleep has gotten so much better because of it. I feel that I'm a more relaxed person because of it, because I've got this kind of free spirit, this free mind away from it for once, and it's nice. And I'm now being able to really concentrate and kind of think, right, okay, if you do want to take this forward and whatnot, how are you going to do it? And so I've got a bang load of ideas coming up for the podcast. Yes, I am going to try and get some very challenging guests on, whether I'll be able to deliver them on. Probably not just now. Well, you never know. You never know. Never say never. But I am going quite high, because Shy Kid's getting out, and and like I said, I want to make this work. And like Saspo was witness to probably the week before that busy week, it was just non-stop. If I wasn't at some day, I was editing something, and then I was getting things ready on Instagram and whatnot. And keep in mind, obviously, like the quiz night, that was a brilliant night as well for We Are the Universe. I have to talk a little bit about We Are the Universe now, actually, and what it's actually all about. Because I don't actually think people, well, if people don't know, it's because I've not explained it. Because that's the only way they wouldn't know what it's about. That's a simple fucking answer for that one, Andrew. So yeah, I've been kind of like wanting to do an actual video myself of We Are the Universe for like since all December. But again, I've really just genuinely not had the time. And to kind of actually explain what it actually is. So what it actually is it's a year long fundraiser that technically starts on the 1st of January 2024. That will see us aim to raise an initial £1,000 for 5 charities, being Andy's Man Club, Mind, Ouch UK, Women's Aid, and Bark, which is for anybody not local, that's Berkshire Animal Rescue Kennels, and that's where my two rescue cats came from. So yeah, initially we want to raise a minimum of £1,000 for them, and but with what we've kind of got lined up, it's going to be a lot higher. Well, I'd like to think that we're going to do a lot of that because I really do, from what I've gathered so far, there's going to be quite a good bit of momentum coming in behind this, and which is really good. So basically, what we're doing, so we done the quiz night the other week, which we raised £142 for, which is great. So that goes into the We Are the Universe kitty and goes up towards the £5,000 total, obviously. So but the really cool thing about We Are the Universe is anybody can join We Are the Universe, and you don't have to go with the 5 charities either. If you've got something that you want to do in 2024, and if that is run 3 kilometers or that is run 300 miles, it doesn't matter. If it's subjectively proportionate to you and it's going to be a challenge to you, let's do it. And it's like we can't give you professional help. I can just support you. I can just give you messages. I can just maybe go out for a run with you, and maybe just like I'm quite good at diet stuff. You maybe ask me a question about that sort of stuff. That's the kind of things I can offer. I can't offer the world, but it's a little bit of free back to try and help you reach your goal. And by helping you reach your goal, you're going to you're going to get more money, and more money means more money for charity, and more money for charity. Fortunately for the big administrative companies, um, means more cured people and more happy people in the world, and that is what we're all striving towards. So that is what We Are the Universe actually is. So what are we all doing? So I've got High Rocks booked obviously in March. That's specifically going to be for Macmillan Cancer, which I've signed up through the kind of like the cut entry for the minimum thing with that, which that's going to tie in quite well. Anyway, so that one's kind of out of the 5 charities, but I'm also doing the Great North Run in September next year for Mind. Yasmin's doing that as well, which is really cool. I believe she might have just signed up for a 5K in Edinburgh for Ouch UK as well. So go ahead and sponsor Jasmine. I don't know if that's quite clustered into the We Are the Universe, but it's all relative anyway. That money's getting raised by people by challenging ourselves the way that we should be. I believe that we should be doing it anyway. Um, and that's pretty much what it is. So so yeah, so we do the social events, and so like say 142 quid goes into the charities, and I've got all these other ideas in my head lined up from more from more quiz nights. We got another one coming up, which is going to be bigger and better. To band nights, to open mic nights, to awareness nights, awareness speaking nights, to I've even I have started asking about the possibilities of could I even do a bongo bingo, and what would I have to all do? How much is it going to cost, and whereabouts am I going to do it? That answers back is probably a movable one, a transportable one that we do a couple of shows around the borders with. So and that's what I mean. That's as far as it's going now. So it really is taking off, and there's a lot of people interested in it. So I do expect it to be really good. I do expect us to kind of surpass everything. So we're also going to be doing skydiving, a lot more physical events, the Bowen lifting challenge, which I've kind of very loosely described to a couple of people. I've actually completely rewritten that recently to make it far more what's the word, like a lot more people can take part. It's not going to be more like you have to be kind of like trained into kind of marathon style, though you can do it in that kind of approach if you want it. But it's basically so anybody can contribute, which is going to be massive. I might actually release that after this video or later on tonight or tomorrow, later on the week, what it actually entails, because that's going to raise a lot of money. I'm telling you, because I think we're going to get a lot of gyms involved, and so it's going to be really cool. So yeah, and then there's like I said at the quiz night, it's endless. We start now, we don't know where it's going to go. All this money is going to go back into this fund. And once we surpass the £5,000, the monies will go in and we'll try and bring more community programs in by using some of them funds as well. And then they get the donations back and so on, so on, so forth. And it's just like this is what I say, this goes on for a year. It's a rolling thing. So at no point do we have the set deadline, apart from 31st of January 2024, if we make it there. So yeah, it's really cool. And it was really fun doing the videos to I don't really know how legal I was with the copywriting using obviously Isolated System by Muse is the title, but I'm going back to using another one of their songs possibly in another video, so I could end up with a huge court case on my hands if I ever do make it. God bless us. Imagine that, taking down my Muse, the band that caused my recovery. The a beautiful tale of irony, the pure Scottish lad that lost himself in the cells of bloody, I don't know, Glasgow. Totally lost my mind there. So yeah, so as you'll notice now, I'm talking quite nicely and quite freely, and that's what the story comes back to. And this is and this is how I end it, is that I've had a year from hell, and I did not expect to have a year from hell. I started with, you know, as superficial and stupid as they were of learning Spanish, I started my year with goals and resolutions. I didn't nail any of them, but what I gained in that is so much more. And yes, I had to go through some of the darkest places. I hope nobody has to go to try and find these out. But I need you to take on board that if you have these kind of warning signs that I've kind of described, talk to somebody. Is the least that you can do to get things started. Go to a doctor is what I'd say. Should be on top of your mind is go and speak to your GP because it could be quite serious. But just speak to somebody and just get this pressure off your mind because it takes a long time to recover. So much so that I had Christmas at my mum's just on another day, just on Monday there, and I was speaking to Sass. I think it was the night before, and I was saying I was just like, oh, I wonder if they've got any alcohol beer. And then immediately I just kind of froze. I was like, oh, no. And like, I got a flashback of being sick in the sink again. I was like, it's the fault of lager and I couldn't drink it in that house. And I was just like, well, you're not quite there yet. You know, I am still scared. I'm still getting a little bit kind of trauma and that from it because I could tell it was not fun. It was just like, it was the worst. It was the worst kind of torture. It was horrible. And there's been bad days. There's going to be bad days ahead. But the amazing thing now is my bad days are just normal bad days. That yes, I can let my head go, and I can get angry, and I can sometimes mishandle the way that I feel. But generally, I'm 90% better than what I was doing at the start of the year. So there's a massive achievement in itself. It doesn't matter what resolutions I set for. I've gained a little bit more respect for myself back from that. And going into the new year, what kind of goals do I have in my mind? So yeah, my main goal is we hit the £5,000 for We Are the Universe. That's the number one goal because that kind of it involves all my fitness goals and everything like that. All they can all kind of be blended into that. I do have goals for the podcast, and that is to get up to 100 plays a week for 4 weeks running. I've managed it 2 weeks, not managed it the 3 or 4. So yeah, it's gaining momentum, and I kind of know the answer to that is more content. But wherever I've got it in me to get that more content just now is another question. So until then, it's probably just going to be up and down numbers, which I'm fine with. And yeah, like YouTube, it's early days with that. Wherever I'll stick it out, I have no idea. I'm not too sure how I feel about being on camera all the time. That's my only issue with YouTube. And it's been kind of why you would have noticed I very rarely take videos of myself on Instagram stories and that now. I just kind of got sick of doing it. kind of got sick of people seeing me. If that makes sense in a weird way. So yeah, so I'm not too sure how confident I am. I know that I can do good material. Um, yeah, I've written a good script there for a couple of episodes, and I'm quite happy with my editing skills just now where they are and the downloadable and the kind of apps that I'm using and software that I'm using that I can actually create pretty decent YouTube videos. Um, but yeah, it's time as well. Um, I don't know how I'm going to be able to juggle everything, which is kind of cool as well because that and then brings into more kind of things of the podcast. That do I look at co-hosts? Do I look at more people interviewing people to arrange to get more views? Do we hire people? I don't know. This is what I mean. This is where I don't know how and when and how fucking long it's going to take, but this will go somewhere because it's gaining momentum. There's people out running in there. You know who you are because you spoke to me the other day. There's people out running that will stop and they'll sit and talk and they'll talk about the podcast and they'll talk about the content. And there's people in the middle of the full car parks doing the run that come out and give you a hug. And this is what is worth it. And this isn't me in a God complex. This is what saved me. And this is what keeps on driving recovery. And this is why I'll never charge people for it. It's because you've made me feel good. This is the story of success. This is a story of success and recovery. And it's something that is so achievable if we are all there to support one another through it. The suicide numbers in the UK are far, in the UK and the world are far too high. And far too often we're far too dismissive of that, and it's a real problem. And the reason why it doesn't get tackled is because we don't address it as such a real problem. And yet, the simple, easy solutions to that is that we just become a little bit more human. We talk, we don't socialize on our phones. Think about that for a second, that the people that didn't even want to talk don't even have to do that anymore. But you to get to the stage that people won't even reply with their fingers. That's how lazy we've become as a species sometimes. And we have to drive that change, and that change comes from people with inspiration, and that's like the big figureheads is use that power and use that to change. And that is how we get out of this, not charging, not subscribing, not doing any malarkey like that. It's just be civil, be nice. I know it's cliche as it comes, to spread that little bit of love when you can. And wow, really dry now. And so this is where I want to close the chapter, obviously, because it's been such a shit year. And I've looked back and I've looked back and I've looked back and I'm sick of looking back. And now I just want to look forward because the future and looking forward looks so bright. And one of my very first episodes, my very first video, sorry, on my page, I spoke a lot about being at a crossroads, and you're consistently stuck between choosing which path because you don't know which one takes you down to the right direction, or that both paths seem endless. That's not true. I now know that is not true. When you come to that path, and when you're so educated and you've been through it, you're going to know which path it's going to take, and you're going to go down that path. And just trust me on that. Like, I am that story that just use that for your relative success. I don't care how. If you can relate to it, I don't know how. But, just do that. This is possible. And as shit as you feel just now, that it will get better. And when it gets better, you're going to learn about all these lovely new things about yourself that you never even thought about before. And you're going to start challenging yourself at things that you didn't do before. And you're going to start loving things that you haven't loved for years. Like, I can't stop bloody singing or playing guitar just now. I can't sing. I sound like shit, but I'm trying to learn to sing because I love doing it. And that's what I mean. Find something you love. It doesn't matter how stupid it sounds. I don't care how embarrassing I sound that I sound so bad when I sing. I love doing it. So I'm going to go and do it. I'm going to go blur my heart out. Loads of people catch me at work already. And just anything whatsoever. So that's it. And that's 2023. And that's where I want to leave it. That I'll never forget. And I'm thankful in some ways that it's kind of brought me here because it's brought me a lot closer to people that I would never have met in my life. So there's always a silver lining. The cake might look off, but there'll still be the cherry on top worth taking. And jump on it and seize it. And carpe diem. I've been Andrew Willox. This has been the Borderline Podcast. Good night.